Welcome to the after party. Welcome to the after party. Did you bring some snacks and treats?
Yes, it did.
I hope you got me something to eat.
Maybe.
Welcome to the after party. Coming to the after party.
Right now.
I've been waiting here all day to act like a fool this way. Welcome to the after party. Join us in the after party.
Right now.
Oh, chocolate and gabbing, maybe some microphone gabbing at the after party.
With DJ Eric Page.
Oh, was there a spoiler in this title song of the stream? Because whenever Pagey's here,
I think you played the wrong one by mistake.
No.
Pagey's not here.
When Pagey's yeah, it's always been DC TV shows here. Welcome to the after party. Sorry we're late. I literally have a blizzard outside, so we've been dealing with that. But you don't care about that. All you want is the content, and I understand. So I'm apologizing for being late. We should have been here 14 minutes ago. I'm joined today by three guests. We have, backed by popular demand, we have Lance, Geek Drums, Geek Information, Geek. Is there any other ones? Is that the only two? Geek Drums?
That's all.
Okay. We also have Canada Graphs in the house. I haven't had a chance to play that Geo game with you yet. I saw you message me, but I was at work. And so I'm like,
Yeah.
wish I would have been there to play. And we have Pagey. It's Harry Potter. I don't know.
Harry Potter in the house. I've just uploaded another Supergirl clickbait video. You can go check it out. How are people still dumb enough to click on them? I don't know, but
Oh man.
Oh geez. All right. Cal with the starting super chat. 199 super chat, any team Eric member. How are you guys doing? I'm doing pretty good, other than like probably being snowed in for the next 24 hours. What about everybody else? How's everybody else doing? How's your day? How's your week?
Good. Can't complain.
I did find out literally about 10 minutes before you sent me the link that there is a Flash set tonight, but I don't think I'm going to it because it's in a forest.
Oh,
so I don't want to get eaten by a bear.
I have a question. When they shoot in the woods or in the forest, how hard is it to get back there to get photos? Is it impossible?
Pretty hard. Like, it's not impossible. It's just you need to know your way around. I do know the park, but there's no additional lighting outside of maybe like a couple of buildings on the outskirts that might have lighting. But once you get in the middle, no lighting.
Have you ever thought of doing like a reenactment of like Blair Witch Project, but it's you trying to find Flash set?
No.
So here's the deal. We're gonna talk about this today, but I sent this picture to Pagey. So last night I was finally catching up.
Wait, which picture?
The one that I sent you on Twitter of me last night.
Yeah, that you don't. Is it the X-rated one or is it?
No, not that one. Not that
okay,
one.
Okay.
Not from the OnlyFans account.
Okay.
Always something with him. So I sent him a picture. I'm getting ready for the Flash episode of Legends, because we know we're getting a double episode or whatever. So I've been trying to catch up, and so I sent him this picture. This is literally my face the whole time I'm watching. Like, I was legitimately like not feeling this at all. And we're going to talk about that in a moment. But people were saying, why are you torturing yourself? I thought you weren't going to watch Legends anymore. And I wasn't. But then when I found out the Reverse Flash was coming to the show, I was like, I want to at least, go in and understand what's happening. And even after watching all of those episodes, I still don't understand what's happening. That, again, we'll talk about it here in a moment. That show is a mess kind of right now. We have another super chat. Let's go ahead and answer that one here. It's from Adam Strangelove. And they say, I don't know about you guys, but if Clark isn't at least put in a coma by Doomsday, I'll be greatly disappointed. So we're going to talk about Superman and Lois in a bit, but yeah, I'm hoping that this Doomsday is very comic book. I want to see that story. I want to see it done more like the story from the comics. And we'll get to that in a moment. But yeah, Doomsday has arrived basically. He's there now. So get into that. All right, so let's go ahead. We're going to start out first with a story that came out. I don't know, was it today or yesterday? The Flash story with the prequel comic. I think it was last night, right?
Yeah.
I think the finer details came out last night, but I think it was like put out there like a couple of days, like maybe like I think it was on the DC Instagram story or something like that.
Mm-hmm. So there's going to be a 3-issue prequel to the Flash movie. So if you're looking forward to the Ezra Miller Flash film, the Flashpoint movie, they're putting out 3 48-issue comics, and I believe that Andy, what is it, Machete? Is that how he pronounces his last name? Machete.
Machete.
Yeah, he's doing some of the artwork, I think, for the variant covers, which I think is interesting. And the first one is going to drop on April 25th. And then July. Oh, is it? Oh, wow.
Now you know what to get me for my birthday, Eric.
Yeah, I'll send it right over to you. April 25th, we're getting the first issue, and then of course the next ones will follow. There's one. It's going to be on digital and print as well, and it'll be 3 each month after that. April, May, July, leading up to the Flashpoint movie. And we got some artwork. I'm going to share the I think one of the variant pictures here, and it looks pretty good to me. Like, you guys know, I'm not a huge fan of like the Ezra Miller Flash, that version, but I'm really starting to enjoy, what this could be, what this movie could actually be, because there's so many cool ideas on it. And that looks like Ezra, like that, whoever, like, I don't know who did that cover. I have to look and see, but that looks like Ezra. And this is where Ben Affleck is going to be portrayed as his Batman here in this prequel as well. So he's going to be technically coming back as Batman for 3 issues. I mean, even though it's not actually him acting in it, but what do y'all think about it? I mean, is anybody super excited about this? Like I said, I'm moderately excited for the film. I'm still sort of getting to that place, but I think it's going to be pretty good based on what we've heard. So any thoughts on this prequel comic?
I mean, I'm not a comic reader, so I'll get my thoughts out of the way quickly. I mean, for me, it's not going to matter because I won't see it. But the only thing I'll say, and I said the same thing on Twitter today about the Arrowverse ones that they're also making, is long as it doesn't affect the on-screen story in like that it's something I need to know watching it, do what they want, make your money, just don't impact the on-screen stuff with the story.
Right.
If it's a lead up to the film, great. But
what about you, Lance? Are you big on the prequel comics? Because a lot of shows do this. We had some in the Arrowverse. They did prequel stuff. They did novels. Like, what do you think about this?
I think it's pretty cool. I mean, I'm gonna check it out. I just think that the villain that they're going with isn't one that I,
right.
think too highly of. I mean,
it's Girder, right? Yeah,
I mean, that's cool. I will say that his cow looks better in art form than it does in live action.
Absolutely. I don't know. So, Paige, we talked about this right after we saw the trailer with the cow looking a little weird. Do you think that's actually part of the costume? You think they're going to fix that with VFX in the movie? Because it did look a little strange in the trailer.
Based off this image, it looks like the weird cow from the trailer. Like the really like wide things next to the cheeks, if you want to call it, like cheek guards. I guess that sounds sus, but anyway, like, but like like the things alongside the cheeks, and they were really like it looked like there was a massive gap under like his nose. But this mask or cow looks like that one that people didn't like. But then I'm confused by that whole trailer because it looks like he's got a different suit as well. Yeah. So I wonder if this is the suit that Ben Affleck's Batman made him, and then maybe it either gets destroyed or something like that, and then he generates one from the Speed Force in the actual movie. Because the one that like in the movie looks like it's living off him, like it's a part of him, or like connected to him in more than just like a piece of fabric or something like that. So maybe that explains it. So I don't know. Is that a final dig at Ben Affleck's Batman? He can't make a mask. I'm not too sure.
I mean, I don't know. But yeah, I'll probably check this out because I think this is one of the big issues right now is the DC comic book app, the one where you can like pay monthly and read all the comics.
The one that's only available in America. And
that's what I was going to say. It's only available in America. So that again is going to make it difficult for like international people to read these prequel comics, because if you can't get your hands on a print comic, which is probably going to be like, I don't know if comic book shops like this anymore, but back in the day I would go in and I would like put on hold like these 10 comics. I'm coming to get them. You put like money down on it or whatever, and then you come and pick it up. I can guarantee that this comic is probably going to be a collector's item, which means if you're not able to watch it or read it on digital, you're going to have a tough time getting it internationally. So I feel kind of bad.
I'm not too sure because like with like here in Australia, like you get the comics the same day. Like the print ones normally, like it's just an issue of Batman or an issue of the Flash or something. But I remember that Crisis on Infinite Earths one that came out took ages to get here. It came out like 2 months after it came out in like Walmart or whatever it was in America. But that might be because it didn't go actually through comic retailers. It went through Walmart, I think it was, or Target. It was one of them.
And here in America, it's not hard to find a Walmart. Lance can tell you that. Like it's there everywhere. Like you can, if you look up your closest Walmart in any major city, it's probably less than 5 miles from you.
Yeah, but I will say finding that like the Crisis comic. That was extremely hard.
It was, yeah. Well, because I think
well.
Walmart had limited amounts, and then people were just going there and buying them immediately, and you couldn't get them.
But like you're saying, it was like a collector's thing.
Yeah. So
well, I know like when that Crisis one came out in Canada, even I attempted to try and get one just because it was related to the Arrowverse stuff, and I phoned 3 different Walmarts here, and they all said they were sold out, and the most any of the stores got was 6.
Wow.
Yeah. So
6?
even if you were there opening day that it came out,
could you
you're not
imagine
getting
if they had a line
right?
of like 100 people waiting and they had 6? That would have been
Yeah. I doubt they did have that big of a lineup, but I'm sure they were sold out by 10 a.m.
Oh, well, you know what? The chance of like if you're a true fan and you're doing it for collectors, you're probably buying 2 of them. I would guess.
Yeah, that too, right?
1 to read and 1 to keep. So
they probably didn't even get onto the shelf. They were probably pre-ordered, like someone ordered it and they only brought in the 6 that were ordered. You know,
most likely. I'm not going to try and pronounce your username because I think I'm going to butcher whatever this is. Lufskusters9? I don't know. Maybe that's how it's pronounced. I don't know. Any $2 super chat, any T-Merrick member. Thank you so much. I've been watching you since 2019. Well, it's 2022 now, and yeah, that's great. Thank you. I appreciate your support. And thank you for sending over the super chat and watching and being a viewer. Adam, you're with the $10 super chat. A lot of people don't like how the Flash runs, but I like it. I'm guessing he means like the Ezra Miller Flash. The Speed Force in the movies is kind of like shown to be like a liquid, and that's exactly how Barry runs through it, as if he's running through water. Well, Ezra, didn't he say that his way of running was like mimicking skiing or something?
Figure skating.
Okay, figure skating. So yeah, so that was his take, because I don't think
skiing. Oh,
okay.
I'm probably paraphrasing here, but I believe he said that he was given free control over picking how the Flash ran, right? Wasn't that what he said? Like something along those lines, that he chose how to do it, that no one gave him any kind of direction on it. I don't know.
I think Snyder said you can do what you want, and then like you can form the character how you want, and then he went with that.
Yeah. I'm not a big fan of it, but I've already said that I'm having a hard time with this version of the Flash because I'm such a Grant Gustin fan. So it's hard for me to see this other version without that perspective, which is why I think a lot of people that don't watch the Flash regularly probably think that it's fine, because to them there's no comparison, I guess, but for me it is. So Quindolin says, I have mixed feelings. I'm excited for this film, but the more stuff comes out about it, the less interest I have in it, but I'm going to see it regardless because it's Flash. I think a lot of people probably feel that way. I mean, they're going to see, not necessarily the first part of that, but they're going to see it because it's the Flash. And I do believe, and Paige, you've said this as well, you think this is going to be a big moneymaker for
if it doesn't make $1 billion, I'd be surprised.
Yeah. So you're expecting this to be like Spider-Man, Aquaman money, basically.
Well, the thing is that everyone's like, "Oh, Michael Keaton, who cares?" I'm like, I don't think people realize how many people love Michael Keaton as Batman.
Yeah, that was my Batman, because I saw that when I was in school.
It was my Batman as well. Like those were the first movies I remember my mom watched, like showing to me when I was a kid. That was actually not like the freaking Wiggles or something like that. It was the Michael Keaton Batman things, the 2 movies, the first 2 of his movies. So like I mentioned to my mom, like she doesn't give a crap about anything. Like if I said name, like the only superhero should be our name with the actors would be like maybe Chris Hemsworth, Thor, Gal Gadot, Superman, Gal Gadot, Wonder Woman, might I say, and there might be one other, and then Michael Keaton Batman, maybe Christopher Reeve Superman. Those would be the only ones. So
like the OGs and the Marvel.
If you put the Flash, here's the poster: Flash, Supergirl in the background, and then both Batman on the side. How is that not making $1 billion?
I agree. I mean, I agree. I think that should. So, one of the things I actually thought that Justice League was going to make obviously the 2017, but I actually thought that and BVS were both $1 billion movies. Like they should have made BVS should have been $1 billion movie.
BVS started off as $1 billion movie, and then it got the bad word of mouth.
Yeah.
So it didn't get repeat showings or new people going to watch it.
Gary is here with a unique question. I don't think I've ever gotten this question from you, Gary. 199 Super Chat. What is your Flash ranking? I don't know if you mean like seasons, because I actually gave.
I think he means seasons because he asked me this question in my chat too.
Let me see if I can remember here because we're so far along into the Flash now. I know for sure that my top 3 would be the first 3 seasons in different orders. So that would be it. And my least favorite season would be probably 6.
What?
No, 5. 5 is my favorite season. Yeah. 5. The least 3 favorite for me are 4, 5, and 6. So there we go.
Edgy.
Yeah.
Not 1, 7.
I mean, no, not necessarily.
Eric loved the 4 storyline, so you got to remember that.
Okay. I mean, it did talk about Daddy a lot, so.
I don't know. Like for me, 6 and 7 are kind of interchangeable a little bit. I mean, I don't really. They feel like one long season because of how it was broken up. I think, but 4 and 5, I think, are my bottom 2 seasons for sure. I hated the Nora storyline going all season long. That was not good. So. Yeah, I actually forgot about it until you mentioned you're like not 5 or whatever. Yeah, definitely. I don't know. Do y'all want to give an idea on your rankings? I know Paige, you've done it a bunch of times in Cantergraphs. You've already answered. What about you, Lance? What would you put? Okay, let's make it easy. What is your favorite? What's your least favorite season of the Flash?
My least favorite season has to be season 5.
Okay.
I hate that season with a passion. My favorite season, I gotta say, it's the Zoom season 2.
Okay. All right. So let's move along here. We're going to talk about the first thing we want to talk about. And if you did not watch the show, just feel free to dial out for a minute because it's going to be very quick.
You said feel free to die.
Dial out for a bit. Has everybody watched the most recent episode of Peacemaker?
Yes.
Okay. All right. So, and I know Paige's watched it because we talked about this on Twitter. So, can we just all agree? First of all, spoilers for Peacemaker, the most recent episode, episode 4. Spoilers. Can we all agree that Peacemaker's father is like the worst character to ever be in a superhero series? I mean, he's just an awful human being with no redeeming quality. Like this is like I talk about like how Alice
one.
Yeah. What?
He's got a cool storage room.
Oh, that is cool. Yeah. But as a person, like you always talk about like characters that can be redeemed, right? And the next closest character to his father that I think is irredeemable for me is Homelander. I think Homelander is a completely, you can't redeem Homelander as a character. But even Homelander seems like a better person than Peacemaker's father, the White Dragon, who is awful. And one of the things that I think is interesting about the series, from my perspective, is a lot of times when we deal with issues about race, you always see like, it's like the different races arguing about like what is racist to them. But in this show, you have the family member versus the other family member, which is something you don't see very often when it comes to like topics about racism. So I was like, this is a different take on this. And it's in a superhero show, which is just wild to me completely. But what a good job they're doing of making his father awful. I just think it's very well portrayed. And I'm like, oh man, this guy, every time he's around on screen, I just get this icky feeling. Like, I'm like, oh, this guy. And that haircut. What is going on with his hair? It looks like he got into a convertible and just drove for like 5 hours.
He just wakes up in the morning, sticks a fork in an electrical socket, and walks out the door.
I mean, it has to be on purpose, right? I mean,
it has to be, yeah.
Like totally. I don't think anything is by chance when it comes to James Gunn. But yeah, so we talked that's fine for a moment. Let's move on for a second. And I want to get everybody's opinion on Vigilante because I'm loving Vigilante on this series. I love
Vigilante.
Obviously, this is a version he's not like the comic book version of Vigilante at all. But I think he's a way to make like Vigilante more like Deadpool in a sense because he's got the snarkiness or whatever. But when we were watching, it was like a few of us all watching together, and he was in jail trying to like, go after Peacemaker's father, White Dragon, and he's sitting at the table like just basically like goading the guys at the table, and they were like, oh, he's gonna get his ass kicked. I was like, I don't think he's gonna get his ass kicked. I think he's gonna kick their ass. I mean, because you're thinking about it, like this guy looks so unassuming, like or whatever. What do y'all think of Vigilante on the show right now after the 4th episode?
Okay, so I obviously love the character, but it was funny because you just said that thing about he's so unassuming looking. I don't know if you ever saw it because not a lot of people did. It got canceled after like 2 seasons. There was a show called Human Target a few years ago.
I do remember that show. I don't think I watched all of it, but I do
remember it. Jackie, whatever his name, Earl Haley,
that was
or
based
whatever.
on a comic book character, right? Human Target, wasn't that a?
Well, yeah, it's Christopher Chance, like we had in Arrow.
Okay.
Except different person playing him. But there was a guy in there named Guerrero, and again, very unassuming guy, by far the most dangerous person on the show. And it's the exact same thing. Timid looking, has glasses, you don't think anything of him, and he will mess you up. So when I saw Vigilante walking down the hallway in the jail cell, and everyone's just chirping at him, and he's just walking through like he's in a park.
Stone face, like this dude is legit. Now, Lance, I want to ask you, when you saw him put the glasses on the table, what was going through your mind at that point? Because I knew when I saw it, I knew something was about to pop off. Like honestly,
exactly. When he pulled the glasses down and just sat, I said, "Okay, yeah, you guys probably want to move because you're not going to walk out if you're on your own." Like when he blocked the one guy, then just broke his arm. I'm like, and you're still gonna go after him after that? Like, come on, y'all. Vigilante is literally like. James Gunn, hands down, wrote this character and killed it. Like, I love this character. The actor, his name is escaping me right now, but
Freddie Stroma.
I want to see him in other things.
There's a reason why they had to reshoot the stuff with him. Now, when Canada Graph said that last week about them having to like reshoot scenes or whatever, I'm like, why for this one person? I get it now. Like, he's literally one of the best characters on the series. Like,
well, it makes you want because the other guy left because of creative differences. He obviously ththought maybe Vigilante was meant to be more of a serious character.
Yeah,
at least
I wonder if it was something like that. Either that or there was a scene because there's some R-rated humor in there. Maybe the guy got a scene that he was given and he's like, "No way, I'm doing that."
So, what do y'all think this Vigilante versus the Arrowverse Vigilante? Like, what are your thoughts on the two characters?
Well, okay, so Vigilante in the Arrowverse, remember, was that guy that was Felicity's boyfriend. It's not Adrian Chase. So we have this Adrian Chase versus Adrian Chase would be different. Vigilante in this one's a cakewalk for Peacemaker because the other Vigilante we got 3.5 minutes of.
I'm gonna say this: I would take the Peacemaker Vigilante any day over the one from the Arrowverse. Even the costume is better. Like, even the costume is better.
Yeah.
So anyway, let's move on a little bit and get through this here. We had Peacemaker versus Judo Master round 2, and that was kind of interesting. And Judo Master is a character. I think they said it was controversial to have this character in the series, and but I think this character is doing really good. I mean, from my perspective, I think the character is a very interesting character, and we don't know a lot about Judo Master. And then just before he gets ready to tell them like what butterflies are,
of course,
Abedeo like shoots him, and it's like he's like, "You don't understand. The butterflies are," and I'm like, I actually thought at first Byrne was the one that did it, but then it made sense that it was her because she's been talking about this through the whole episode about having not shot anybody before, and and then we also find out that Peacemaker has the butterfly from last episode in a jar back at his house, which I think is highly dangerous. Like, Yeah, he got him high. Like I was like, what is going on with this, right? So that's going on. And the butterflies are interesting. And I guess we'll go ahead and we'll jump to the reveal at the end here. We find out that Myrn, the person in charge of the team or whatever, has a butterfly in him. And do you think it's been like that all along, or do you think that it happened like while they were out on ops? What do you think?
I honestly don't know.
Well, are we led to believe the what do you mean, like out an op while the show's been on? So the stuff. That
just in general, I'm wondering if he was a butterfly when he came into the company to work for the Suicide Squad or whatever, or if it happened while he was investigating butterflies. Is what I'm trying to figure out.
I'm not too sure because, like, we're led to believe the butterflies just take over a human body,
right?
Like they just use it as a host.
Yeah, but what I'm saying is I'm just trying to figure out time. Like, has he been
like time wise, when did it happen? Yeah, I know what you mean.
Yeah.
So I don't know. It depends. Like, I would assume it's been like that for a while, but at the same time, I've not, because I think there's going to be more twists and turns in multiple aspects of this show for the rest of this season.
We've only really seen one Adrian Chase, and that's
I don't know. A lot of people count Josh Segarra, what was his name? What was his character's name?
He had 3 different names.
What was his actual name? I can't really go.
Oh, jeez. It was something.
I think everyone just still refers to him as Adrian.
So here's the deal.
I refer to him as Adrian.
I think on Earth 2, his name was Adrian.
Right. So if we're comparing them that way, they're so drastically different. I don't know which one I would like better. But vigilante wise, the actual in the suit being the vigilante, I prefer the one on Peacemaker.
Well, I wish they actually did. They continued because they clearly changed their plans with vigilante because they needed to give Dinah a story in season 6 or whatever it was.
Mike says, glad vigilante this week was more than comic relief. I was waiting for it. I was actually waiting for it because I thought for a second, I'm like, it's going to be Peacemaker's the main character, but the most badass character is going to be like his best friend or something. Like, I just felt like that was the way it was going. So
can I just take like 1 second here to sidetrack about an observation I made? So the first butterfly we meet is the girl that Peacemaker picks up in the bar.
Right.
She couldn't make human sounds. Like, she's just screeching at him, doing all this stuff.
That's a good point.
All the other people are talking like normal people. Right. And I saw a lot of people, I've seen a few reaction videos, and a couple of them were like, oh, I knew Myrn was a butterfly because of his personality. Like, he's got that personality like this. Here's the thing. We saw the governor being a normal person out in public. You'd think if Myrn was the same, Myrn would be, so you can't know when he was a butterfly. We might never find out.
That's a good point. I didn't think about that. Do you think the not being able to speak has something to do with time? Like maybe it's the amount of time the butterfly is inside of them, or
maybe?
A little weird. Okay. Yeah. Gary here with the 1-9 super chat. Do you think the Flash will get a season 9? I mean, unless we hear that it's getting canceled, I assume that it is. That's just the way I look at it. If I don't hear them saying that it's ending or it's being canceled, then I'm going to assume. Here's the deal: if they lose this before they sell the network, that would be a problem because this is one of the shows that they would want to keep around because it's one of their money shows. So we'll see. All right, in the chat, give your score for Peacemaker. What did you think of it? Did you enjoy it? Did you not enjoy it? 1 to 10.
Just an update. Superman Lois is already going on a break.
Oh, is it?
After episode 4.
What? Already?
Yeah.
I mean,
is it because of the delay from their filming?
Well, the thing is, they're only on episode 8. I saw on Instagram today they just finished episode 8 or something.
Wow.
Yeah, they had a delay at some point, and then coming back from winter break, they also then had another delay. So I don't know what the problems have been behind the scene. I mean, I'm sure it's probably shut down related, but those things don't make the news anymore, because we've had a couple of them happen here, and even I don't hear about them until long after the fact.
That's depressing.
Gary here, do you think the rest of the shows will get I feel the same way, Gary, as I do about the Flash. If they don't announce that something is actually ending, I'm assuming they're actively trying to renew it. That's what I think is going on behind the scenes, because we either hear that it's not continuing or it is continuing, but we don't understand that there's a lot of stuff that goes on behind the scenes that we're just not privy to. But I appreciate your super chat.
Three in a row.
Yeah, here we go. Is the Flash getting delayed later than March? No, I don't think so.
There's the question.
I don't think so. But don't jinx it, Gary.
One other thing, I didn't know if you were finished with Peacemaker yet.
Go ahead.
But the scenes at the end with all of the character moments, those, I mean, we've had this, fun, laughing, at everyone's expense story, and then we see the real trauma some of these people are dealing with, and for a show that's so light on everything else, that was some of the most real, serious scenes in any superhero show.
You mean on Peacemaker, right?
Yeah.
What you're talking about? Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's true.
Like we got to see, Chris, breaking down over all the things that he's had to go through. We got to see, his history with his brother and all that stuff a little bit. You had Adrian in the car. Basically, you could see he felt remorse over his decision in the jail cell,
Right.
We got moments I didn't think I was getting from these characters. They didn't seem capable of it to me,
I think it just goes to show just the talent of James Gunn and the people that he puts on his team, and just how good he is at what he does, which is why when he was let go at Marvel, people were like, are you sure you want to?
Well, that's why Warner Brothers was incredibly smart to go, okay, well, Disney's just incredibly dumb. Come over here. It was the easiest thing. It was like letting the cutest dog in the street off the leash and just let them run away.
So Laura says February we have 2 weeks for the Olympics, so that's why.
The Winter Olympics.
Yeah, Mike Glenn is a new member. Thank you so much. I appreciate you signing up, Mike. So let's move on. We're going to talk briefly. Let's talk for a second about. I know you haven't watched it, Paigey, but maybe Candigraphs. I don't know. I want to talk about Legends for one moment. Moment.
I have not watched.
We're not going to dive into this, but I know Lance has probably some opinions about this.
All right, I'll be back in 30 seconds.
Okay, so I noticed that Legends has now been switched in its description to comedy. That's the first line in its description: is comedy, action, drama, superhero. That's what it's listed as. Apparently, and this is spoilers for Legends if you're not watching Legends at the moment. We're not going to spend a lot of time on this, guys. Don't worry.
Thank the Lord.
Yeah. This last episode, I'm caught up completely. The last episode, they were stuck in a reality TV show from hell. Where they were being filmed and watched as if it was like the real world or Survivor or Big Brother or whatever. And it was awful. It's probably one of the worst episodes of any Arrowverse show I have ever seen. Literally nothing of value came from that episode. And the worst part was, it was an episode where Bearad was getting some character development, but it doesn't matter because the episode was awful.
Terrible.
It was a bad episode. Right now on the show, we have these robot evil versions of the Legends and a evil version of the Wave Rider with Gideon. And then you have the real Legends stuck without the Wave Rider in a time-traveling bird cage with Matt Ryan, who is not Constantine. He's some other character. I don't even know what his character
Gwen Davies.
Yeah. So he's playing this character, and they're stuck in Constantine's house in hell, running from the evil Gideon. I'm just gonna, Lance. I want you to, because I need to take a break. I want you to go in a little bit on Legends and tell me your thoughts on it here.
I mean, honestly, the way you described it is perfect, because the beginning of the season, I was like, cool, okay, it's starting off good, and then once they reintroduced I forgot the dude name that made the evil robot clones, whatever his name is. Then they kill him off. They let the robots kill him off. They don't try to save him.
You're talking the original inventor of Ava, right?
Yeah. They don't try to save him. Then the evil robots show up. Nate's robot is like super dumb and buff all the time.
And he's got steel skin, but he doesn't have steel skin.
Steel skin, but not steel skin. Arms are like super big, and he's like some muscle brain dude. Zari is a mix of Zari 1.0 and 2.0. And then when they get hurt or destroyed, an Ava robot, I don't know what she is at this point, makes new versions of them and sticks chips on them, and then they don't know.
And here's the thing. This is the scary part, everyone. The Sarah that ends up being the Sarah with the evil ones, because she becomes aware that they're doing the wrong thing. So they have to reboot her, right? They turn her in to the Sarah from Arrow. She's basically the best version of Sarah, who is an assassin. And that's what they turn her into, but she's the fake one on the fake team.
Exactly. And then what blew me is, like the lady from last week that they was trying to find, to stop the aberration, she like murders her like in the middle of a park.
Yeah.
And I'm thinking, okay, this is going to get interesting. And then this week we end up on the Real Housewives of DC.
Mm-hmm.
So it's like,
yeah,
pick a lane.
You guys, look, here's the deal with Legends. I'm not advocating for it to be canceled. I'm not advocating for people not to watch it. If you love Legends, you can continue to watch Legends. I don't get it. It's like, it's not even a superhero show anymore. And it's certainly, in my opinion, not connected to the Arrowverse. I mean, maybe it is, but it's not. Like, it feels like it's in its own little world. Like, the reason why I'm good with like Doom Patrol and some of these other shows is they're in their own little worlds. They're not connected to anything else. This show is connected to The Flash and Superman and Lois. This show is connected to Superman and Lois, which is like, how? I was telling Paigey when I messaged him last night about this, I'm like, now I see why they don't include them in the crossovers, because how would you? How would you do that? How would you represent Bear-Rad in Superman and Lois?
He would smoke dope in the barn.
I was just about to say that. Invite Jonathan and Jordan to smoke a little weed.
The only reason I watched it and caught up with it is because I wanted to be prepared for the Reverse Flash episodes. But once those happen and I've seen what they are, I'll probably go back to not watching it again, because I don't like to get on and be mad all the time, and I don't typically watch stuff I don't like, but they pull me back in, which is probably why they stuck Reverse Flash on it, because they're like, hey, all these people stopped watching, we're going to bring back the Reverse Flash, so go to CW and binge the last 6 episodes of our show.
They got you, Eric.
They did. They got me 100%. Adam Strangelove with the $5 super chat. I never watched the Suicide Squad because the original just left such a bad taste in my mouth, but I'm going to finally watch it. Hope it's not hype. Are you talking about the new one with James Gunn? That is one of my favorite superhero movies of all time. I loved that movie. I think it's hilarious. I think it's different. I think that Peacemaker is basically a continuation of that whole world.
Oh yeah,
which is fine with me. I love it. You may not love it. It depends on what your level of humor is. I like funny when funny is done well, and James Gunn knows how to blend, comedy and action.
What would you rather watch, the Suicide Squad or the Snyder Cut?
Suicide Squad.
Squad.
You might get roasted on Twitter, Eric.
I can't do 4 hours. Which, by the way, we found out that the Matt Reeves Batman movie is now going to be 3 hours long.
3 hours, yeah.
That or not, 2 hours.
Which is either a good thing or a bad thing. It's not anywhere in the middle.
We'll see.
You remember the Dark Knight Rises and how you just wanted it to end?
Oh, I do remember that. That's true. Look, Mike Glenn here dropping in with the one I super chat. How is this show still on, but Black Lightning is canceled? I still feel like, and I know this is a conspiracy theory thing. Where's my tinfoil at?
I think you'd have to put tinfoil hat on if you're going to deny that there's a conspiracy.
Well, I think that there was something going on in the background of Black Lightning that we're still not totally.
We'll just watch the final season.
Yeah,
Chris didn't want to be there. It was super obvious to me.
So Lance, you haven't been on here. We've talked about this before. When it comes to Black Lightning, it's very clear, based on the way they filmed the final season, that they were separating actors.
Yep.
Like there were people that just did not want to work together. And China obviously didn't want to be in the same room with a few of the other characters and stuff like that. I feel like in my heart, because Black Lightning was an amazing show, that this was all behind the scenes drama that caused that show to get canceled.
Yep. I've been saying that for a while, because it just seems like one day Crest walked up on set. They had plans to do a season 5 because, we know that's why they made Nissa suit. The showrunner even said we had plans to, start season 5. I think they started talking
that
about
was an amazing speech. I was so excited about that.
They started talking about contract negotiations, and Chris probably said, "You know what? I just want to end it here." It's very weird that when they were all saying their goodbyes on Instagram, nobody included pictures with Cress. Mm-hmm. Nobody tagged Cress in anything.
He wasn't promoting the show.
Nope.
The final season, I don't think I ever saw him once promote the show on his Instagram.
He was doing a whole lot of Black Lives Matter stuff on Instagram, but nothing about the show.
Yeah, I mean, and during, obviously, with the show and its connections to that particular movement, it made sense. But I thought, like, you're not promoting your show at all either. So it's like, it was really weird.
Only interview he actually did was when the show aired the finale, and they put up the TV Line interview, and he was talking about how he was going to eventually be in talks to, be on The Flash, which ended up being Armageddon, but that was about it.
Which, by the way, he seemed really happy on that show, in that set. And it makes me wonder what was going on. I don't know. I don't think we'll ever find out, honestly, unless somebody spills the beans later. But
I don't know any of the behind the details, obviously, on Black Lightning, but I will say I've now met Cress in Vancouver on 2 different occasions. Mm-hmm. Wonderfully nice to me. However, I have talked with people that have met him in Atlanta, and he was much different there.
Mm.
And I don't know what it was. I don't know if it was the behind the scenes working or if he just didn't like Atlanta.
I truly believe that so my thoughts on this is they recast China with the intention to keep the new actress on the show.
Yeah.
But then when they knew the show was ending, the contracts had already happened, the writing had already happened. They were like, we just have to bring China back at the end. I mean, that's really the only way they can do it. Because you can't end the show. You just introduced a new Jennifer. Like, you can't, like, end with that character after, like, 4 episodes.
And then they could have done that better, too, because it's like, oh, it's a atmosphere creature that turned into a version of Jen.
Yeah.
It was weird.
It was weird. It was very weird. I even said that when it happened. I'm like, I don't know about this. But I still love Black Lightning. Like, if you go back, the first 3 seasons, I think, are really, really, really strong. The last season was a little iffy, but I think there were still good episodes in it. Cal here with the 1-9 Super Chat. Do you think Legends will get a season 8? Probably.
I still am of the assumption I don't think it's going to.
You think they're going to end it?
I said this in my live chat the other night. I'll say it here. I have a couple of people who worked on Legends that I occasionally chit chat with, and while they were still filming, I was talking to them like, what have you heard about renewals? And usually, in the business, they will get told ahead of time, like, okay, we need you to keep this window open for work for next year. They won't give you a lockdown date, but they'll kind of be like, say they're aiming for a May start. They'd be like, somewhere between April and June, we're probably starting. And they'll be like, so don't book anything for that time. They were not told anything like that this year. They were basically told, go look for a job if you want.
Oh.
They were also not told it's not coming back. They were just told, we don't have an answer for you.
What do you think, Paige? Do you think Legends is going to scrape by for another season?
Well, it would be weird. I mean, if it just ended. I mean, it's any show that really, in my opinion, goes like above 4 or 5 seasons usually gets like say, oh, this is the final season, heading into it. And like they finished filming like ages ago.
Right.
So it'd be weird if it didn't get renewed just because of like no talk about it actually ending beforehand.
Yeah. All right, so the next thing I want to talk about, we're going to move on, and this is going to be for, I don't know, I don't think Candographs is watching the show, and I don't know if you're watching it or not, Lance, but I want to talk briefly about the second episode of Naomi, just briefly.
I'm watching it.
You're watching it? Okay. So I still am under the feeling for me that Naomi is going to be better as a binge show when you watch it all at one time. I just, there's something about the show that the pacing feels very slow to me, a very weird, oddly slow for a show. I don't necessarily think it's a bad thing or whatever. Also, I think the show is intended for a very young audience. Like, I'm going to say like, they normally do say like 18 to 25. I'm going to say it's probably like 18 to 21, 20. Like, it seems to me like the show was written for there's nothing wrong with that. Absolutely nothing wrong with that. But it seems like it's written for a very young audience. And It feels like a Scooby-Doo mystery show that just happens to have superheroes in it. And
well, what if it actually had Scooby-Doo in it?
I mean, that might make it a little bit better for me. I don't know.
It might be more watchable.
It is a WB show.
It is. The actors other than Naomi are very stiff to me. I don't think anybody else on the show is hitting it for me in terms of acting. Naomi's doing a good job, but like the guy that plays her ex, I don't even know his name, the football guy or whatever.
Nathan?
Yeah, he's like,
was that the actor's name?
Yeah, so he's in her kitchen. He walks in. What is he doing here? I can't believe you did this to me.
Well, it makes me wonder.
Like,
is he
I'm
meant
like,
to be? Because he's playing like that, like jock type character, I guess.
But
and I do. Is the actor like that? Is the actor like that? Because I've always felt that when you have someone play someone, and they are young. I know how old he is. He looks pretty young. He looks like at most he might be 20 or something like that. But I think I know the girl that plays Naomi is actually 17.
Yeah, she's the youngest one in the cast.
She's actually under 18.
And she's killing it. I think she's doing a great job as Naomi. She looks like Naomi from the comics, and she's doing a really good job in the show. But even the actors around her, like the guy that plays D, like what is his acting? Like what is going on with him? Like I know he's supposed to be from Thanagar or whatever, but his acting is like, and I didn't tell you to do that the other day. And I'm like, what is the range here?
He reminds me of Handsome Squidward.
It's true. The thing where he jumps off the bridge when he does like this, he goes, and I'm like, what is that?
The one thing, the thing is, the acting, like it's TV. I didn't expect like every actor on TV to be amazing, as long as the main one is good. So Naomi's good. I would prefer if D was a bit better, but I can live with it. But the green screen in the show is really bad.
It is.
The thing is that some of it's really good. Some of the like the visuals and how they go about stuff is really good. But the green screen is really evident. I just wonder if they were just working with someone who didn't know how
I don't like the intro song. I think the intro song sounds like it's from the 90s. I don't like it at all. And not in a like 90s throwback way. Like it sounds like it's from the 90s. Like it's not nostalgic at all.
Was that one like the ripples?
Yeah, the ripples or whatever. It sounds like something like around Smallville's era, but Smallville had a lit song and this one didn't, obviously. But somebody's saying, why were you hyping the show before it aired? Because I always like to give something a chance. Like I'm one of the people where I'm like, I want to see what it is and see what it's about and give it the opportunity to grow before I decide whether or not I want to support it. Now, I'm not saying don't support Naomi. I'm saying that Naomi, for me, I think is going to be better in a binge, and I think it's definitely geared towards a younger audience. Totally. And as far as her powers, her story in the comics is still so new. I don't think they've established exactly what her powers are. They're very like energy based, but it's kind of like Superman.
It's like Superman mixed with Captain Marvel. That's probably the best way to describe it at a base level, because Captain Marvel is a movie. The thing is, and I think it's going to be the biggest issue, I think, because I think the show's, I like the first episode. I give that first episode like an 8.
Yeah.
The second episode dropped to maybe like, I thought it was maybe like a 7.5, just because it felt like they were jumping around a lot.
Yeah.
I did like the development they had with like the mystery factor, but I'm still not clear where they're heading with the mystery.
So I do want to
like the thing is, Superman existed all the time, or is he from another Earth?
Yeah, exactly. So my question is, and I'm hoping they get to it, but this is why I think it might be better as a binge, and also why I think it's moving too slow. So we know that D says that he fought with Superman, right?
Right.
But is D a multiverse traveler? Because if not, then where the hell did this Superman come from? Because clearly this Superman did not grow up on this Earth. He was not a Superman on this Earth, because no one believes that he's real, because Superman is just a comic book character in cartoons and stuff. So where did that come from? I guess we'll get that question answered at some point. I'm hoping.
Archmage put something in the chat, which I did see people talking about on Twitter on the day, where is it like meant to be like the superhero Truman Show, where all of her friends who conveniently just seem to be around her at vital points,
right?
And even like are they trying to cover the mystery as well? Because but then I don't know. I think we have to learn what's going on with their parents.
See,
I think her parents are the key, because there's something weird.
There's something going on with their parents for sure, 100%. I don't know what it is.
I think they're going to be the key to like revealing certain things, but it just matters whether Naomi figures out stuff before they decide to tell her anything.
Like Lance, did you get that vibe at the kitchen table that something was going on
like they definitely know. They're just trying to keep it a secret. And I'm like, how long do you expect us to sit here as viewers and act like they don't know anything?
Right. It's like she doesn't know, but we should know. I mean, why don't we know? Malik here, I said this the other night. I would have really loved to have seen that Wonder Girl show, the Brazilian.
Well, actually, I completely disagree with this.
Do you? Why? What's your reason for that?
The CW avoided the biggest bullet of all time by not doing Wonder Girl. Have you seen the controversy from the comics?
I haven't read the most recent comics. No,
it's not about the comics. It's the reaction to the comics from the actual South American people. They hate it. They think it's actually insulting.
Is it the creator from South America, or no?
I don't think she's from South America.
Oh,
I thought she was. Wasn't the woman writing Wonder Girl like a white woman?
Oh, I have no idea. I just remember that when it came out, there was a big deal about it being super inclusive and them like putting.
Yeah, I don't think
right. So
I don't think it is. I think it's some.
I still would have rather watched that than this. I think, honestly,
Noel Jones.
I don't know. So my thing is that I just feel as if there's something missing from Naomi. Yep. And I'm hoping that it clicks like soon. Like I want it to click soon. This is why I didn't do a second. I didn't do a second review of it because there just wasn't a lot for me to add from this episode.
Joel Jones is a white redheaded woman. So
okay, all right,
yeah. Apparently, it's like really insulting to the culture of like indigenous South Americans, which is what Wonder Girl is. So the show would have been based off that. The what person was creating the show wasn't from.
Well, they still could have changed it. We know they can change it up on the show and not make it the same. They could have done something different.
But then people would have complained.
Maybe, but I still think I would be more interested in that than this.
So they've avoided the biggest.
Let me tell you, the other issue I have with Naomi is Naomi, to me, feels too similar to Superman in terms of the origin. Adopted from space at this point, because we don't know if the multiverse thing is going to be a thing or not. Like an alien character who learns about their powers, who wears glasses. I just feel like they picked a character that is so similar to someone we already have that it's hard to get invested in that character too. I don't know. I just, and the other thing is that they said that Z, because I can never pronounce his name. What is the bad guy's name?
Zumbato.
Zumbato? Is it Beto?
I pronounce it Zumbato. It might be Zumbato.
He claimed to be responsible for the prank that destroyed buildings and destroyed people's cars and all this damage. Did he pay for it? I don't understand. Like,
no, he
did it, but he's still operating his business like nothing happened. I'm like, so nothing. He wasn't punished at all for that. Nobody took him to court. If you're going to admit to something like that, I feel like the government would be investigating you immediately, not like after the fact.
I think you can admit to something, but they still have to have evidence that you did it to do anything.
But the thing is, they would immediately investigate that though, because if you're not the person that did it, then someone else is responsible. Yeah. So, like, I can tell you right now, if somebody destroyed a car out in the street and I went out and said I'm the one that did it, I would be immediately taken in for questioning.
Well, didn't you destroy a car only a couple of weeks ago?
I don't know, maybe. I'm just saying, like, there's little things like that. The other thing is, as a parent, I can't believe that like all of those kids were out till like 1, 2, 3 in the morning running around on a school night. Like, I just don't believe that would happen.
That happens on TV shows with young people all the time, though.
But see, that's my point, is that I think the show is written for a much younger audience, because as an adult, I know that wouldn't happen. The other thing is, they immediately get caught in that, the windmill, or where was it, a factory? I don't even know what it was. It was like a lighthouse, wherever they were at, where he showed up and like they were all there. There was like 20 of them and one of him, and they didn't know he was a superhero or super villain, and they're running away from him like he can do something. There's a bunch of them. Like, I can't imagine they'd be like, oh God, it's the car salesman. Come on. You know what I mean? And then when they get done with that, after Naomi has dealt with the trauma of that whole moment, the first thing that they talk about when they get out of the van is about a first date and stuff. I'm like, this isn't for me. This isn't for, like, that would not happen. That conversation would not happen that way. And I realize, and we'll talk about this during Batwoman too, because we're going to get there in a second.
I was just thinking that same thing.
These kinds of conversations are put in places that don't make any sense for real people. And I'm not talking about like in the heat of the moment as a superhero. I'm talking like when you are dealing with something traumatic, it's like, oh my God, they're coming after me. Hold on. Yesterday when you told me you didn't like my hair, I was really like that just doesn't happen. It doesn't happen like that. But they do it in the shows all the time. So no, it's not unique to Naomi. I agree with you, Candidagraphs, but it's something that happens on these shows where I'm like, that just wouldn't happen. It would not happen. It wouldn't. So
that
anyway,
hilarious.
In the chat, what would you give the second episode of Naomi on a scale of 1 to 10? I'm very curious what people think.
So I wanted to circle back. You were talking at the start of this about the acting and how you find they're a little challenged in the acting department. I've been looking at the IMDb's of them while you've been doing all of this. Mm-hmm. Outside of Stephanie March, who plays Akira, who I don't even know which character that is.
She hasn't even on the show yet.
Right.
Okay. There you go. None of them have a very deep acting resume.
Right.
And that's the other thing I noticed about this show. All of the other shows that have come out have a name that people at least recognize. It might not be a super name, but they have names that you recognize. Like with The Flash, it was Tom Cavanaugh, Jesse L. Martin. These are people that people know from other projects. Who does anybody know from Naomi?
Right. Well, they had
this is a cast. This is a cast. I think they just went out and they're like, "Who are the cheapest actors we can get?" And they're like, "You're hired."
I actually think Ava's name being attached to it was what they.
I think.
100%. That's the only reason this exists. 100%. That's the only reason.
Let me ask you a question before we move on. Would you have rather, based on now what we've seen from Naomi, would you have rather us had this or a potential New Gods from Ava? Which one do you think would have been better?
I don't know. I don't even know if New Gods would have been that good.
Yikes! That's a good question, but
because I finally sat down and watched Eternals. Mm-hmm. I turned it off halfway through.
Well, and New Gods and Eternals are basically from the same stories, basically from Jack Kirby. So you don't think anybody could have done an Eternals even without her? You don't think it would have been good one way or the other? Is that what everybody's thinking?
Gods?
Yeah,
it depends. Like I think you got to go full on New Gods if you're going to do it. And I don't think she was. I think it was going to be set on Earth, and it seemed like it was just going to be the Mr. Miracle, which would have been because it's a good book. But it seemed like it was just going to be the Mr. Miracle book, but just called New Gods.
This is what I'm worried about. If Naomi doesn't get any better, it will be on the chopping block, so it seems. I haven't heard any word of an early renewal, and that's usually weird with a show at this level.
Especially around the second episode.
Because most of the shows get those early renewals in after their first season, especially when they're like attached to a big name, like Ava DuVernay or whatever.
You don't usually get... But then we got... I think they said like the TCAs are... Is it next month? Or something like that. They're doing like early TCAs or something, or whether it's TCAs in general, the CW's doing some upfronts or something like that.
Right.
I can't remember what it was or something like that. I think someone put it in the chat as well.
So here's the deal with Naomi. I won't be doing weekly reviews, you guys. I might do a review here and there, but I will definitely be talking about it on Fridays because not finding it. It's not catching me yet. So we'll see.
Okay. One more thing about Naomi. Do you guys feel the same way? It's giving me like how Black Lightning was a superhero and his family were superheroes. He had other superheroes around him in a world where he thought, oh, Superman, Vixen, The Flash, all these other heroes were comic book characters.
Oh, I see what you're saying.
I get the feel that Naomi's trying to do that, except she's not an established hero. She doesn't know anything else, but it's just coming off very, very badly.
It's funny you bring that up because then that goes back to Paige's comment about the Truman Show. I mean, what if her powers are so dangerous they have her in this Truman Show reality and other heroes do exist outside of this show and maybe D has been assigned to keep an eye on her or something like that? I mean, it seems like there could be something there with that.
It just matters because I think if there's no reveal like that, it makes you question why they went out of their way to, direct themselves away from the comic book thing. Like for those who don't know, in the comic book, she's in the normal world of superheroes. She's on Earth Prime, but she's from another Earth that doesn't have that. But then she has powers and everything like that.
Didn't her Earth originally have like a finite number of people with powers? It was like a dozen or so heroes, and it was like a weird number. It was like 27 or something like that.
And they were in that accident or something.
Z was killing them off, and
Naomi was the only one. Naomi's mother was the only one that gave birth, which was of course to Naomi.
Yeah. So anyway, all right. So let's move on. Paige's probably not watching it, but I know Lance and Candigraphs is, which is Batwoman. I know you're probably not caught up on Batwoman right now. But we had this week's episode, which was Meet Your Maker, which was basically the Poison Ivy reveal episode where we finally got the Pamela version of Poison Ivy, and we found out more about what was going on with Mary's, infection from Poison Ivy. So I'm kind of torn on this episode. I really loved one half of it. And then the other half, I think, had some pretty big issues with. So all the stuff with Mary and Alice, I think, were good this week. And actually, I think I'm kind of enjoying Alice now. I didn't like her so much last season, but I'm really liking her this season because I think they're trying to redeem Alice. Y'all think they're trying to redeem Alice? I really think they are. Yeah. I think this is the beginning, like flipping the switch of we're trying to make this character a good guy or a good person.
So for me, the thing I keep going back to whenever anyone brings this up is that moment earlier this season when she had the chance to save the girl in the tunnel and didn't. And I'm just kind of like, we all thought then she was on that pathway, and then she took a huge step back.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if we'll ever get to that point, but they keep teasing it.
Yeah.
Because right now, I think, I know I'm jumping ahead a little bit, but when she finds the phone and there's that look of there's a look on her face that you can read one of two ways. You can either read that she's out to protect Mary, or she's taking the phone as blackmail for later down the line if she needs it.
Oh, okay.
Depends how you want to look at that look.
Yeah. I don't know. I genuinely felt like she cared about Mary in this episode, and that's something I don't normally feel with her. Lance, what are your thoughts on this Mary and Alice situation in general? Like, how do you feel about it right now?
Like when it first happened, like when she first took Mary and basically ran off with her, I'm like, okay, you just did a complete 180. I thought you were going to be cool. You're now enabling her to go do bad things. But like you said, it's turned into a more protective thing. Soon as Alice picked up the newspaper and seen, oh my God, Poison Ivy's back, we gotta go, because at the same time, that's her little sister, as she called it, stepsister, little sister, whatever. She can potentially get killed. They don't know.
And look what they've been through. Look what they've been through together. I mean, the stuff that she's done to Mary, the stuff Mary's done to Alice. I mean, it's been a roller coaster ride.
It's like much. They literally just replaced Kate in this weird relationship with Mary. And to me, it works better.
Yeah. Yeah. So Mary's obviously being swayed by the infection from Poison Ivy from the vine. And we find out after Pamela reappears and she's talking with Renee, which, by the way, Renee still was holding out hope that Pamela would change. But I think it was very clear in this episode that that's not going to happen. Pamela is just going to be this eco-villain.
Renee and that's what she's going to do. I'm done with her character altogether. She is an idiot.
Not an idiot.
I'm done with her character altogether. She just she irritates me every time. She irritates me.
I thought she was smart enough to pull one over on Team Batwoman, but now I realize it was just an accident. Like
exactly,
bringing Pamela back was just a dumb accident. Like she kissed her, and that gave her moisture enough to like wake her up. And it's like I gave her way too much credit because I thought she was like some mastermind behind all of this, and that's not the way it was at all.
Not the whole time. She was just a lovesick girl.
You're that thirsty and lovesick that you kiss a desiccated body. Like, no.
It could have been dead at that point.
Exactly.
We don't know. Like, so anyway, Pamela comes back and she basically tells Renee, like, Mary being infected was part of the plan. So not Mary specifically, but that whoever somebody got the vine was going to infect someone, and they were going to eventually be able to like help her come back to life and be free or whatever. What do you think of this version of Poison Ivy? Because she's really powerful. I mean, it's not just the environmental stuff. Like, it seems like she's just in touch with nature in general, which makes it another level of like danger from her. I quite like it. And I mean, I like the Mary version too, but this one, she's really powerful.
I think it's more. Oh, you go ahead.
No, yeah, you go ahead.
Okay. I think it's more along the lines of we're seeing as where Mary is the novice and just, learning what she can do. When Pamela showed up, like you said, I've never seen a version of Poison Ivy that was like just like this powerful. And I kind of got the feeling that if they the last few episodes, if Mary does end up keeping these powers, because I don't think she took them all back. I think she just used that to basically rejuvenate herself. I think we're going to see Pamela starting to train Mary a little bit more and a little bit more, and then they could.
I think their relationship may be more symbiotic together than it is like taking powers away. I don't know. I'm hoping that's the way it is. What were you going to say, CG?
What was I going to say?
You love Pamela Isley.
No. Very much the opposite. I don't like this character.
Okay.
I don't know what they're going for, but she's boring to me.
Okay.
And I know that I had this debate with a couple people in my chat the other night. They're like, I don't know what you're thinking. I love the character. And I'm just like, I'm glad you do. Not working for me. I couldn't, every time she's on screen, no disrespect to the actress. I'm sure a lot of it's got to do with however they've told her to play it. Dull, boring. Her and Pamela, or her and her partner, whose name I just forgot, boring.
Renee.
None of her storylines are hitting for me.
I
can't wait for it to be over.
Boring to me for the most part of the season.
I can't wait for that part of the season to be over with. Go back.
I
think
Marcus.
This
is going to go for the rest of the season, though. I think Poison Ivy's being set up as the main villain.
I do not like what you're saying.
I mean, here's the deal. It's either Poison Ivy or Marcus. I mean,
I hope it's Marcus.
Obviously. So,
I mean,
it could be a team. What if Marcus teams up with Poison Ivy?
They're just going to.
I mean, at least it would cancel out her boring.
Yeah, we'll talk about the Joy Buzzer here in a second. Mike says, "Do you think who do you think is Ryan's father?" For a millisecond, I thought they were teasing Diggle as a possibility. So let's jump over to that for a moment. So Diggle shows up in this episode, and we see Jada, who hasn't been around for 5 episodes. It's been a while since we've seen her on the show, but she's talking to Diggle. They have a past. That was so awkward, wasn't it? It was a little awkward there at the beginning. But I do think they have good chemistry on screen. And I don't know if that's because Diggle just has good chemistry with everybody or David Ramsey's just a really good actor when it comes to those kinds of things. But we have the situation. And so a lot of people have been shipping Diggle and Jada, even though Diggle's got a family. So
got a whole wife and kids.
Yeah, not just a part of a family, like a whole full-fledged family. But they're saying now that Diggle could be Ryan's father. And I'm like, how old do you think Diggle? How old is Diggle?
I had to look it up. I had to look it up. I can't remember I think there's 14-year difference between David and Javicia, something like 14 or 15 years. And I'm just like,
so they're talking about young love at this point. It's young love.
Yeah. And you also know in television time, those times are usually condensed.
Yeah, that's
so
true.
He'd have to be 12 when he had her. So, I mean, people that are thinking are thinking some weird stuff.
So, Paigey, are you still with us? Are you still there?
Unfortunately, yes.
How would you feel as a non-Batwoman viewer if they made Diggle Batwoman's father?
I don't think it would have made sense because I'm 99.7% sure. Wait, how old's Ryan meant to be?
Early 20s?
Yeah.
I don't even know how it.
I think 20. I thought it was
mid-20s maybe or something like that. I don't know.
She's definitely mid-late 20s because she's been living in a van for a while.
It'd be people with half a brain that are thinking that's a good idea or even thinking that theory up. So no point even spending too much time on it.
People love their ships, Paigey. They love their shipping on these.
Yeah, shows. We know. We've interacted with enough of them to know.
I mean,
okay, so Naruto, after this week's episode, I have a theory. Diggle is Ryan's father. I appreciate the $5 super chat.
She was born in 95. That wouldn't work.
So she was born in 95, right?
Yeah.
Okay. All right. So.
Okay.
I don't know if that. Plus, Diggle was with Oliver Queen from the beginning of that series. When was he working with? It would have been over a decade ago that he would have been working with Jada. So I mean, could they make it? Do you think they would try and make this work? That's the question. And if they did, what would be the reason for it?
No, but then he was in the military previously before that. Can we move on? It's not. It's making my brain hurt.
It's like trying to make Bruce Wayne her dad.
No
established character should.
Someone
be her
said that they were trying to push that when we found out that Jada was coming into the show this season.
Maybe Jada's maybe Ryan's biological father is a mixture of Bruce Wayne and Diggle in a petri dish. And no, I have no idea anymore.
Somebody in the chat just said it's Black Lightning. Oh God. Oh, Lynn ain't going. Lynn is not going.
How about Joe West? Is Joe West in the mix?
Why are we picking people with whole ass families? That's what I want to know.
It's like people want adultery.
Yeah, can we
want adultery involved with this child or something?
At least
like
Bruce Wayne wasn't with anybody. I mean,
God.
Anyway, so Diggle and her come up with this plan because she believes that they can fix Marcus by getting the buzzer and just using it again, which I don't know.
It's like
how
that
was like crazy person thinking.
Yeah. So
Eric, have you heard the best way to treat a gunshot wound?
Oh no.
Shoot yourself again. Like that's usually the best way.
Yeah, that is the best way.
It.
So her and Diggle go on this like scavenger hunt for the buzzer, and that's one of the mini stories that's going on this week and whatnot. Anyway, Diggle comes back later. We'll get to that at that point. They find the buzzer, but I don't think it's going to fix Marcus. If anything, it's going to make him even more like the Joker. So we'll just yeah, I agree. I think once he starts getting Joker weapons, he's just going to start being the Joker at that point. But whatever she believes, I don't know what to say about that. Anyway, so while the stuff is going on with Pamela and Mary and Renee and all that's going on, we have Team Batwoman in the woods trying to hunt down Poison Ivy because now she's back and they're like, we're going to go get her. So it's Luke without his Batwing suit. We have Sophie and we have Ryan, which, by the way, I have to say, I love the pettiness that Ryan had at the beginning of the episode when she walked in with coffee. She's like, hey guys, I brought coffee. She hands it to Luke and then walks right past Sophie, doesn't say anything. Yeah. And Sophie's like, oh, so you're just not going to talk to me now? And she continues to just talk to Luke. And I was like, all right, I see what's happening here because she is really in her feelings about Sophie and Renee, which, by the way, Sophie's like, I'm not even interested in her like that. But Ryan doesn't believe it. I want to know in the chat if anybody even gives a shit about this. I'm curious. Are you Team Sophie or Team Ryan in this? Because I feel like Ryan is being super petty, but Sophie did sleep with someone else when her and Ryan were supposed to be together. So I don't know about that. I'm just curious. But anyway, so the pettiness was funny at the beginning, but then as the episode went on, I'm like, I don't want to hear this I don't want to see them fighting anymore. It reminds me a lot of like other shows where it just goes on for too long. And I'm like, I feel uncomfortable. It's like sitting in the car with two friends who are doing this and going back and forth, and you're subjected to it. I don't know how Luke dealt with it, to be completely honest. If I was
Luke had the best jokes though during the whole little thing.
That is true.
In the beginning of the episode.
That is true. So anyway, they come across this guy being hunted by Poison Ivy's. So this is where my confusion comes in. Was Poison Ivy actively hunting these people now, or were the vines on cruise control? Because they talked about it later on that Poison Ivy was able to use all of the things around her to sort of hear and see and know what's going on. And so I assume that Pamela, at least in some way, was controlling the vines.
I think she was controlling them because, well, she's just that crazy. You do anything and you pee on a tree, you're gonna die. So right. I think whatever he did, I mean, they could have told us what he did, right. But whatever he did, no matter how small, she was just going after him. She's right. trying to make up for lost time.
Right. So I'm under the impression she was controlling it, which leads me to a problem I have later on in the episode. We'll get to that. So anyway, they do that. They end up held up in a cabin because the car gets destroyed. Sophie gets out. They go to the cabin. They kind of like bunker into the cabin. And Luke's like, I'm trying to make this formula to match the serum that we locked up Poison Ivy with. And all of that makes sense. But then we go into that territory of conversation that I think should have taken place at another time in the episode. And that is Sophie and Ryan arguing about their relationship in the middle of all of this. And my general thoughts are they needed to fit this into the episode because it had to be resolved this week, but they had nowhere else to put it. That's what I think went on with that, because arguing about stuff like that while you're fighting for your life is just, it does not fit for me. It doesn't work. And when they come up with the plan to destroy the truck outside of the cabin with the chemicals in it to blow up the vines or whatnot, we immediately go to Luke at the graveside, right? I'm like, did that stop Poison Ivy? All you did was blow up a couple of the vines. Like, she has control over everything in the woods. So if she's controlling that, would she go, oh, they blew up those vines, I'm going to make more and I'm going to continue to go after them? We never see Sophie and Ryan leave the woods. Sophie's like, I'm going to go get my truck or whatever, which I thought was destroyed by the vines, but she's like, I'm going to go get my truck, and that's it. We don't see them again at all in the episode. So I'm assuming they just left after that. I
think Ryan's still in the woods smiling after that kiss.
I mean, maybe.
Okay,
possibly.
can I need to rant about that for a second? So this is a show on the CW, which is, let's face it, a network that is very, putting out a certain image, and that image is of.
Wow, are you accusing the CW of being
woke? So they very much push. They very much push that, you've got to, ask for permission, respect people's boundaries type.
That is part of what they do.
Dab on the haters and.
What did Sophie do?
She took it all right.
Didn't ask. She just forced herself on somebody.
Wow.
And the fans are like, the wonderfulest thing ever. It's like, you just appreciated sexual assault.
It's going to be an article about this conversation on We Got This Covered in 5 minutes.
That's the Wildmore fans' fantasy, apparently.
I don't even know where to. You know what? I'm not even going to follow up on that one. We're going to let that stand.
I had to rant about it.
Yeah. Naruto with a $5 super chat. I probably missed this combo. Thoughts on the tie-in comic? Feels weird that Stargirl's first crossover with Arrowverse proper is in a comic book. Stargirl and Arrowverse in a comic?
Yes, that's actually.
I didn't see that at all.
Oh, you didn't see that news?
Mm-mm.
I shared it to you on Twitter. They're
hold on. The big thing is, you're the Arrowverse Keemstar, and you did not see the latest Drama Alert news.
Usually, if somebody shares something with me, if I miss it, I see it somewhere else. I didn't see this anywhere else.
I hate to point this out to you, Eric, but I talked about this when you were talking about the other comic tie-in thing earlier.
Eric doesn't listen.
I was probably going through and getting a super chat ready. That's what it was.
Focusing on the money as per always.
I'm glad no one listens to me.
Yeah, I must have missed that part. I honestly heard what you were saying, but I didn't hear this part.
Basically, what it is just Batwoman, Superman, and Lois. The Arrowverse shows, including Legends, they're each getting their individual comic. And then in the 6th issue, it's a big crossover, and Stargirl is going to be considered canon. So Stargirl's first major crossover is in comic book form.
Okay, so I don't have an issue with these comics being canon, but I think it's going to be confusing for viewers if they don't read the comics.
The thing is that
that's why that it was the same point I made earlier about the ones for the movie, like. Long as it doesn't affect the story in the movie.
Okay, I remember you talking about this now. Now I remember it when you said it. Now I'm like, oh yeah, I remember this.
It was at the same time that some dollar signs showed up in the chat.
Yeah. No, I got confused because I thought you were being hypothetical. That's why I didn't think that it was actually
okay.
happening.
So. No, I was making immediate reference to this series of comics they dropped.
Okay. You know what this is like though? I'm going to treat these comics like the Disney Plus shows.
How is that?
It feels like it's going to be, how the Disney Plus shows are, you don't even really have to watch them, but they are the shows like asterisks for like a certain character's story. Like, they'll mention this thing, and if you really care, you can go watch the Disney Plus show.
So here's the deal.
I think these will be referenced.
And I think, like, when Sam first shows up in a movie as Captain America, they will make a big deal about it, even though he's had a whole ass series.
Yeah. They'll make it seem like it's the first time ever. Like, they have this big dramatic thing, like, you're not Captain America. It's like, yeah, there was. We just spent 8 episodes last year or 2 years ago.
The thing is, they know they can get away with that because in the end, 50% of the people that'll go to see the movie probably didn't see the TV show.
Probably, you're right.
More. Yeah. If you base it off Hawkeye, I know what the numbers were for the other shows. If you based off Hawkeye's numbers at the beginning, then you'd say probably towards 70, 80. But the thing is with these comics is that I love the idea because it allows them to do some stuff that maybe they can't do on TV due to limitations.
Yeah.
And the thing is that all they have to do is, I mean, if you're a fan of the Arrowverse at this point, you'd bother to like look up and read what happened.
Yeah, for sure. I agree with that. Okay, so last thing I want to talk about before we move on to Superman and Lois is the stuff with Diggle and Luke at the end. So the one thing I did like about this episode, which I thought was really strong, and I noticed it is like after it happened, is Cameras hasn't had as much to do since Mary sort of went with Alice. So he's kind of been not even really support. He's had like 3 lines per episode because I didn't realize how many scenes were. You have to go, Lance.
No, they got a babysitter. They got a babysitter out there.
Okay,
they just running around.
Yeah, I just want to make sure. So Mary and Luke shared a lot of scenes together, and so when she's been gone with Alice now, it seems like Luke hasn't had a lot. But he had a great scene in the cabin where he said he feels responsible for everything that's happening and starts to have this awareness about what's going on. And then at the end, when he goes to the graveside and he's there, sort of talking about how he feels and where things are. And then Diggle shows up. Diggle sort of is, because I don't know if anybody watched last season, but there was the episode where he came in and talked to Luke and sort of like helped him out a little bit with his father and stuff. And so having Diggle come back is sort of I don't want to call it a pep talk. It wasn't a traditional like Arrowverse pep talk, but he was there sort of, talking to Luke about this. And he shows them the box where the ring was in. And I guess or Luke had the box where the ring goes in, and they're trying to open it. And Luke's like, there's no technology that I know of that can open this box, which now brings into question. I know, Lance, you wanted to talk about this a little bit. So the ring was open for Diggle when we saw it at the end of the crossover, the end of the event. And now it's closed. So what do you think is going? I want to give you a chance. What do you think is going on, and then everybody else can chime in.
The way I see it, like I told you, is the Guardians basically said, "We gave you enough time. You kept denying it, kept running from it. We literally were trying to get it in your head. We gave you headaches. You still didn't want it. Too late. They shut the box, sealed it. Now that he wants it, probably just got to work for it."
You think he's got to do something to like trigger the box to open or something like that?
Yeah, because I mean, I would hate to think that the writers just dropped the ball on it not being able to open, but then didn't send it away.
Oh,
I mean, if it flew to him.
Yeah, that's a good point. So MC Brooks here says the Batwoman issue of the tie-in comic spoils that Luke will be in a relationship at some point because it mentions he's a new boyfriend.
Yeah, Cameras is writing that story as well.
Oh, okay. All right. Got it. All right. So any other thoughts on the Green Lantern stuff? Because I have a couple, but I'm going to give you guys a chance to say something. Candigraphs for Pagey.
I honestly, at this point, I just assume it's never going to happen.
So you don't think he's going to be Green Lantern at any point?
I mean, we have a Green Lantern show coming out. They're I just don't see how they're going to make that happen.
You mean even with this new Diggle show possibly on the horizon, you don't think he's going to...
Honestly, I mean...
He's going to be Spartan in that, all right. Let's just accept it. He's going to be Spartan.
I just can't imagine him being Spartan with a team full of metahumans. It just feels strange to me. I don't know. Pagey, I know you at least caught up with this part, right? You've seen the scene, I'm sure.
You'd be correct, Eric. I'm interested to see, because the thing that has me intrigued is because in that article when they talked about the Justice U thing, about how he's got all these other guest appearances apparently lined up. Now, I guess the big question is whether it's for this season, but we only found out about this Batwoman appearance 4 weeks ago in a synopsis. Yeah. So the Flash is still 6 weeks away from coming back. Superman and Lois is all over the joint. Looks like they're going to repeat the season 1 airing schedule where they're taking a break every 2 weeks because they can't actually film the episode in time. So I would assume he might. I think he'll 100% be on the Flash this season because I think he's been on the Flash every season. Even in YOLO COVID, he came and went hello. So I'd be surprised if he isn't in this season of the Flash. And then why not for the meme? Let's go Superman and Lois as well and see what they can do there. But with Flash, he could go there because Star Labs has tech and go, well, the Bat tech didn't work. Maybe Star Labs tech might work or something because that wasn't done last season when he showed up. I didn't bring the ring along.
That's true. Staggerford to 49 Super Chat goes, what if Sinestro appears in Justice U if it gets picked up? I don't think they'd use Sinestro on a show like that. I think Sinestro's
I think Justice U is going to be very grounded, or not, maybe not grounded, but very, I was going to say based, but that sounds like a weird word to use, but like very centered on, I wonder why they have to go undercover at a university. That's the thing that has me intrigued.
Well, what are their powers going to be? Like lockpick boy and, jump rope girl. I mean, I don't know what are they going to be like very light metahumans?
Well, no, I think they're actually going to be more over the top metahumans, and that's why it's a bigger thing than going undercover. Like if it's just some random dude whose metahuman is the fact that metahuman power is the fact that he can think faster or something like that. Like that can't easily be exposed. But if you're someone who can, if you don't react properly, can light up on fire like the Human Torch or something, that's going to be a bit of an issue if you're undercover.
That would be. You're right. I'm just wondering how long it is before, because so I got two issues with the idea of the Justice U show. First of all, a lot of people are like, "Why don't you like the name of it?" And they're like, "U stands for university."
The name sucks, but
I'm like,
so
yes, I understand it stands for university. That doesn't mean I like it.
The name is misleading because it's making it. Everybody thinks that they're basically doing a Xavier school.
That's what I thought when I first.
Yeah.
It misleads people.
Yeah.
Well, to be honest, I think people are making up their own assumptions because I think once you read the synopsis, it's more 21 Jump Street.
No, I agree, but I'm saying like the name itself without.
Yeah, it's misleading based on the name itself. Yeah.
But the other thing is that that if you have a cast of characters that are training, right, you would have to change those characters every few years because you're not going to be training them for like a decade, right? So,
well,
I'm assuming. No, I don't think it's a bad thing. I'm just wondering, what's the casting going to be like? Because Diggle's obviously the main character. So,
it might be a case of Diggle is around for the first 2 seasons, and then they just focus on the people he trained, and he goes.
Which is why I think the name needs to not sound like a going to school name. It needs to be something that's
but I can understand the point.
What if it's more like the justice is in you, and that that's it's like a Captain Planet sort of thing. I don't know.
Hey, I don't know. Character out there. I want to see Painkiller in it. Put some respect on his name, all right?
I would love to see
How he's 18, isn't he? Like end of high school?
Yeah, because he's just never graduated. Like he just stopped going. So I mean, he's of age.
What's the thing you do in America if you don't graduate high school, but you want to get
your GED?
You have to get a GED, but you don't really go. You can you can either do that on your own time and then just go for the test, or you can go to a college or something, a local college.
Maybe that's Painkiller's subplot in
Justice Community College. That's what it is. Like this.
I love to see Justice interact with Diggle.
Yeah, Justice Homeschooled. That'll be the name.
He can't touch it. He can't touch anybody at the school.
Yeah, I don't know. It's a little wild. All right, so in the chat, give us your score of this episode. We got completely sidetracked. Give us our score of this episode of Batwoman in the chat.
Oh yeah, Batwoman. I forgot that's what we were doing.
Yeah, we were talking about because Diggle stole the show in the episode. To be honest, that was the main thing everybody was talking about.
I had a side point I looked up and I forgot until you just reminded me we were on Batwoman and Diggle. So you're talking about the lack of screen time for cameras. Next week might even be more of that because the episode after that is the one he directs. So he would have been scouting for episode 10.
Yeah.
So we might not see him much for the next couple episodes.
Wow. All right. So we have to do this in about 15 minutes here. We got Superman and Lois, which I don't think will be too hard. This episode, it kind of was. It was pretty solid. I don't really have a lot of negatives. Superman and Lois, even at their worst, is better than most of the other shows. It just is. And, there was some clarification here. And Paigey, you probably dug into this a little more because I think you did a video on it. But there was an interview where Todd cleared up the whole HBO Max thing and was talking about the budget for the show and stuff. Can you do you have any idea what that was about? Like he said, it was not connected with HBO Max and the budget.
I don't think I did a video on that. That might have been, maybe because my name's the DC TV show. I think that might have been Supergirl confirmed Superman.
No, I said you might have did a video about it. I didn't know if you did or not. I figured it was news.
No, it was just that because that whole rumor started because of that article that came out. Was it last year? I don't even know. It was during the COVID period, which is these past 2 years. I can't remember if it was 2021 or 2020, but it was that the CW was looking into summer series, and I blame the Hollywood Reporter because they used Superman and Lois on the picture. And I think that's where, and they actually used Superman and Lois, Stargirl, and it might be like All American or something like that. It was like the picture in that article, so people just thought it was about those shows. But I know for like pretty much a fact, like Stargirl's budget is pretty much like is on the Flash. Like they pretty much have the same budget as the Flash,
which is amazing to me considering what Stargirl does.
If you think about Superman and Lois, like Superman and Lois would have had some startup fees because they had to build that Smallville downtown, but they film in. I mean, sorry for swearing, but bumfuck nowhere. Like they film, they don't film. They don't film in the metropolitan area. So it's like when the Flash films a public scene, it costs a lot of money because they have to block streets and stuff. Like even in Armageddon, that scene, which it could have been anywhere. Could have been a side alley, maybe a random street, but not like a straight up intersection where the psychic villain puts them up in the air. Like that was like an intersection. So you're cutting off 4 roads. Like Superman and Lois doesn't have to do that. They only had to do how many scenes did they do last season in like a metropolitan area? Like maybe like 3 episodes. There was some metropolitan scenes.
Yeah.
So last season was a lot of indoor scenes.
So it allows them to put more budget towards whether it is a big set piece or whether it is just general time.
Yeah, I would have to agree with that, actually. Yeah.
And with Stargirl, it's very, very similar as well because the town that they're in, they sort of, it's not a big thing.
It's on a studio
space. And they don't use a school anymore. They use an actual studio. Like they were using a school and they've brought it down to a studio to save money. And it looks the exact same. If you told everyone would just think it's a school like it was in season 1 or the first half of season 1.
So the thing I want to mention also is that just in general, and this counts for like Naomi and even Stargirl, I don't know if it's the type of camera or if it's just the way they're filming it, but Superman and Lois, even their filming quality is completely different from the other shows.
It's like they use the anamorphic lenses.
Yeah, it adds another level of quality to that show. It just takes it up immediately from just looking at it, just from a visual standpoint. But yeah, even in this week's episode, the green screen isn't wonky. You can tell when something is green screen a lot of times, but it isn't quite wonky. Like being in the fortress and stuff like that, they're not going to build that set every time they're inside of that room because of the way it works and whatnot. But I just love the way it looks. And, I think the level of quality also comes in the writing. I think Superman and Lois also has extremely solid writing. And not to mention the acting from everybody is usually really, really good on Superman and Lois. I just wish the other shows could inject a lot of that into it. So talking about this episode specifically, before we do this, Sagrevor with 49 Super Chat. I think people assume Superman and Lois is run by HBO Max because they find it hard to believe that an Arrowverse show could be that good. So I never felt that way. But let me tell you why I always assumed. I had read, or I saw, maybe it was that article that Paige was talking about, that HBO Max was co-financing the show. I never assumed it was like run by HBO Max.
I think that when they first came out with the announcement of this show, I am sure every article they wrote said that.
It was, as I said, it was that summer article because it said that HBO Max and the CW were going to co-finance summer shows. And they used Superman and Lois, Stargirl. I think it might have been All American. It was something else. It was like a show that goes to HBO Max after the seasons now. Not too sure what show it was, but they used them as the image. But the thing is, the article didn't state shows, so people just assumed that the shows that they were using in the picture were the shows in question. When it was actually going to be like really low budget shows, like shows that probably like most people wouldn't watch or even take notice of.
That's too funny
to run in the summer when like the main shows aren't on.
So let's see. This is going to be the 10-minute warning. We got to rush through this. We have a lot of time to talk about Superman and Lois. We can go on a a little bit longer.
There's no bomb under your chair, Eric.
No. But if anybody has to bow out, I get it. Like if anybody has to head out. But
Eric's got to bow out. He's got to shovel his way to work.
I might have to. I got a couple of hours here. We'll see. So with Superman and Lois, one of the great things I liked from this week's episode was the amount of teamwork we saw between John and Lois and Clark, and all of them sort of working together to do things. Like even when they weren't together, they were all still working towards the common goal, even when they didn't even realize they were doing it. And so Clark comes clean to Lois and John and tells them, look, I've been having these visions. they've been popping in my head. I think it's Krypton being destroyed. I don't really know what's happening. And Lois gives a few ideas, and John talks a little bit about it, but Clark gets under the impression that he should talk to his brother. I knew as soon as he talked about doing this was not going to be a good idea. I just knew it was not going to be a good idea. And Talro just being I don't want to just say evil, but manipulative and a liar and all of those things.
Sadistic and butthurt.
Yeah. I mean, I knew this was going to happen. But before we get to that, before we get to the Talro stuff, I do want to talk briefly about the time at the hangar with the airplanes and the kidnapping or the hijacking or whatever. And we had the guy who was inhaling X-kryptonite. That's a problem because now these people, like anyone that has the money in the black market, can become Superman for a minute or 2 minutes.
Well, do you think that that's a subtle hint and setup for Bayrod coming to the Kent farm?
I mean, it could be.
Do you think that's a little Easter egg planting?
You know what I think it was? I also think it's a hint that if they don't give Jonathan powers this season, he's going to start getting.
I think they set that up in that episode. That was the seed being planted.
Yeah,
for that
100%. The connection between him seeing people at school taking all of his spots and then the XK being on the black market, I'm like,
it gets the big question.
Like it's connecting the two together.
Who introduces it, or is that guy already on it? Is he on the roids, or is he on X-kryptonite?
Probably X-kryptonite.
Here's the one thought I had about that. I had people say the same thing to me in my chat, and it's definitely an angle that can go down. The other angle that I would look at and be like that is he also told his brother about it. Why wouldn't his brother just go and tell his dad, who's a coach on the team, being like, by the way, as Jonathan has some suspicions about this guy, can you look into it? Like, that's a more logical angle than Jonathan all of a sudden taking it. But I can see that that's probably how they'll write it.
I think it's because Clark Kent didn't raise no narc. He didn't raise jobbers. You get exiled for narking, so
yeah,
that might be why.
Yeah, it's like on Peacemaker when his father's like, I'm not a rat, but I'm going to tell everybody everything. And, then I get and he's like, I think
Lois
that's the definition of a
Jonathan.
rat. Yeah,
she's going to catch him in the room and hailing.
Jonathan?
She's going to catch him in the room and hailing.
So, Lance, let me ask you, because last week she caught him in the room.
It's just Fanta.
She caught him in the room with his girlfriend last week. So now she's already suspecting that he's going to be doing stuff behind closed doors. She's going to open the door. He's going to be like mid-inhale, and she's going to be like, what are you doing? And it's like,
he's just going to be inhaling, and he's just going to be full-blown floating in the air. Lois is going to be like, when did that happen?
Do you think they would deal with an addiction storyline with him? Do you think they would throw that in the show? Do you think that's something they might go down a path for that? Because if he starts taking it, he's going to become addicted to it, I'm sure.
They probably handle it better than Arrow handled Diggle's addiction story.
Ooh, that's a rough
Laurels.
Ooh, yeah, that was a bad.
Or how about the woman from Black Lightning?
Oh yeah.
Yeah. Prince of Entertainment with the $4.99 super chat goes, I love this show. My only worry is no love triangle between John, Lois, and Clark.
I thought that this week. I thought about that when he looked at her, and then he just started thinking about his Lois, and then she turned around the same way. I'm like, I guess that just must be a multiverse.
And he had the picture. He had the picture of Natalie and his Lois in his hand in her room, and I'm like,
we can have duo.
Do this.
Wait, so do you think that the Death of Superman storyline is also going to turn into a Mr. Zero girl?
That is exactly what I was about to say.
For CW purposes, we can have dual love triangles going on. You can have John, Clark, and Lois, and then you can have Sarah, Natalie, and Jordan.
Oh yeah, Jordan. I always get their names confused because the actual
I do sometimes too. That's why I had to pause for a quarter of a second.
In about, I would say, every single one of my Superman and Lois videos, I say Jonathan instead of Jordan or the other way around. I have to put on the screen. I meant the other.
Yeah.
So the thing is, though, if they do, because we know Doomsday has arrived, if they do the Death of Superman story and they think Clark is gone, what if John steps in?
Oh,
and
no.
a romantic relationship.
No.
There's room in the bed.
What if he's like, Lois.
This is like,
what if it's Cyborg Superman?
It's like at the start of The Walking Dead.
but it could be like Lois. John could show up. They could be sitting at the table. He's like, you know that breakfast you made for us that one day? I could be your Superman, baby. Like, you know, he could say that to her, and then she's like, then she falls in love with him because they fell in love in another universe, and so then Clark comes back and he's like, how do you resolve that? That's irresolvable. Like, you can't resolve that. That is like, no.
No, you'll see John Henry Irons walk into the bedroom with the shirt that Lance is wearing, and that'll be the end of it. And then they'll just cut to a commercial.
I got it. John Henry's gonna be, in the barn. He said, I gotta fix the steel suit. It's gonna be like the sun is gonna be coming through the barn just right. He's gonna have his shirt off. He's just gonna be hammering away, glistening in the sunlight, and Lois is just gonna walk in like, oh,
do you want some lemonade?
Yeah, she's like, who is this man in my barn? Like, it's a full man in here.
Okay,
like,
so we've unintentionally uncovered Eric's porn scripts for the 90s. I don't know how we've unintentionally just described them.
So let's get back on the track. So anyway, they're working together, all that's happening, and so Clark gets his ass whipped by this like XK guy because of the visions.
It was a guy from the comics, Barrage.
Okay, I didn't even think that much about it. I was like, okay, but he slams him like the Hulk did with look like just literally like smashes him like
so bad for him.
It was. I was like, oof, that must have hurt. And then he gets saved by the super kids, basically. They
start playing volleyball with him.
Yeah, and so then he confronts the general about it. He's like, they're barely old enough to blah blah blah. The general's like, look, here's the way it is. You're either team U.S. government or you're not, and that's just the way we're going to do this. Like, you're a liability to us. This is not how we're going to operate. And he has to know by now, Superman is not playing that. He's not going to be team government. He's not going to work with them. And so, we find out later on with the Doomsday situation with, I think it was Dr. Faulkner was the one who was running the site on the mining site or whatever. And I think the government wants to control Doomsday, right? Is that what we're getting here? Is that
I think there was a powerful being there, but I don't know if they actually know exactly what it is, because even at the end of the episode she says it's even more powerful than we first thought or something like that.
Do you think the super kids are going to get killed by Doomsday first?
Oh, do you mean like the government ones?
Yeah,
I would say most. I don't think they'll kill Tag Harris. Or maybe
he's going to get hurt, though. I think they'll kill the other ones
off.
and Tag will get hurt. That's what I think is going to happen.
Yeah, and maybe Tag, because with a character we know, he can explain what they encountered.
Mm-hmm.
But I think Superman sees him at the end of this upcoming episode this week.
Right.
But he doesn't burst and maybe he just escapes and he's having head visions and pains and can't chase him away. But the Superman or the government people can, like they did last episode with the Fanta sniffing dude.
Introverted Unicorn says at least one. Yeah, one of those kids has to be killed, and unfortunately, and I hate to say that, but I think it's going to happen.
Would you rather limb ripping or head ripping?
I don't know what they're going to show, but it's going to be bad, I think.
Maybe they'll just cut off a toe.
Well, no, half a toe.
Yeah, half a toe.
Oh, by the way, does James Gunn watch the Afterparty?
Oh,
we had this whole conversation about whether you fall over by not having a pinky toe, which resulted in me going on YouTube and finding the Amanda show.
The Afterparty.
However, I must say in the Amanda show, it was his big toe, not his pinky toe.
Yeah,
I think I'm pretty sure.
So I want to put this out there. I don't even understand what this means. I don't Is it because of the stuff with Sarah? Because we're going to talk about that.
It's because of the stuff with Sarah.
Right. Anyone calling it woke hasn't paid attention to Sarah's story since episode 1 of season 1 and what she even and the stuff that they revealed that happened before that as well, and that leads into the rest of season 1 now season 2.
Yeah, I wrapping up the Doomsday thing. I think the thing is we find out that Superman's after he talks with his mother, which we'll talk about Tauro as well. But he talks to his mother, finds out it's all connected. Of course, that's where Lois and John were at the mines when all this goes on. And John figures out that the earthquakes coincided with Clark's visions and headaches or whatnot. And we get the shot of Doomsday at the end, and they think it's more powerful than they ever expected. And so let's jump over to the stuff with Tauro, because I think that's a little bit interesting before we talk about the Sarah stuff, and then we'll wrap this up. So Tauro lied, obviously, about not having powers because that's what he does. And they go to his fortress, and we find out that he has their mother, an uncorrupted version of their mother, inside the data banks at the, inside of his fortress. And this is not the same one that they worked with when they did the Eradicator process. So a lot of people were saying, why did he activate his father instead of his mother? If his mother's not basically manipulative and gonna force him to do stuff and be so evil to him, if he had her all the time.
Plot.
I mean, I think you're probably right, but she's there and he has this great moment. I think Tauro had a great moment with her where he talked about things that had happened to him, because I'd completely forgotten that all of the other Kryptonians are test tube babies. Like Clark is the only one that was born like naturally, which would mean Supergirl wasn't even born naturally. Somebody brought that up in my comments. So she's also that way. So Introverted said she didn't even know who he was, and that's because he hadn't activated her the whole time he had been on Earth. He'd never turned it on. So she never saw him as a kid or even a young adult or anything. So a little wild there. But we get to see Jordan try to fight Tauro, and when he tells Jonathan, he's like, "I could have taken him." I'm like, I don't think you could have.
Nah,
that was a little bit too much, as Paigey likes to say the American way. So it's a little too much gas in your tank there for you to think you could take him.
Gas.
Yeah.
He got a few good hits. He got to learn how to throw a punch better though. I'm like, dude, you got it. You don't punch like this.
Yeah,
like, come on, man.
Fighting like a branch or something like that.
Just having the powers doesn't make you that would be like some Goku level stuff. If he just powered up and you could just beat everybody, like, no, that's just not the way it works.
You would have thought Clark taught him how to throw a punch, though.
Nothing. What happened to the training they were supposed to be doing? Like, I thought they were training. Like, what happened to
Hasn't got to the punching part of training.
I guess none whatsoever.
Worked all on the laser eyes.
But Clark comes out of it and he lets Tal have. I was like, oh yeah, this is like he went in on him. He's like, don't touch my son, don't look at my son, like just like one of those moments. And but the one thing I was a little bit disappointed about was I was like, how are they going to get him back to the base or whatever? But they end up back at the base, and I'm like, oh, I guess Clark just was able to take him back with no problem. I don't know. I mean, maybe that was the case, but he just flexed on him, I guess.
Did Clark carry them by the collars there? And
I guess I want to see that scene. Let's see that scene. That would have been good. But anyway, so we have that happen, and it seems like for now, we're at a spot where they realize there's something going on, but they're not aware that Doomsday is out. So I think that the super kids are going to have to face off against Doomsday, and somebody's going to get hurt. And Clark is going to bear responsibility for that because he's going to put it on his shoulders and be like, it was my fault. I should have been there or whatever. Do you think that, okay, so before we move on to the Sarah stuff, what do you think the connection with Doomsday and Clark is? Because clearly they're connected somehow. What do you think, Paigey? Any thoughts on this?
Well, my first thought was the Eradicator stuff.
Okay.
Just because it entered Clark's head. So like that's the only thing I can think of, because why would it affect him if it wasn't that?
Mm-hmm. I agree.
And it's like, I guess maybe because it was based off like the ex-kryptonite from underneath the mines or in the mines, and Doomsday's coming from beneath it. That's the only thing I can think of. Unless they change the story of Doomsday. I wonder if they make Doomsday where he actually was some sort of child of Krypton properly, and he wasn't like an ancient being. So I guess that's a wait and see, but just based off what we know, I would say it's because of the Eradicator stuff last season. Hopefully he's not Clark's secret brother, because that's literally what they did in season 1.
Yeah. So another question is, do you think they'll be able to do a solid Death of Superman story in the season instead of in a crossover?
I prefer if it was in the season, just because even if it was a crossover, like it's still a Superman story that, because it only involves other people from the comics for like a portion, and then really it's more the aftermath. The aftermath is more the focus. Like, what does it mean when Superman dies? Like who picks up the slack and everything like that. And I think that's actually an interesting element. And even though technically he doesn't die, like I think they say in the comics, he literally it's like a sleep. It's like a hibernation sort of thing. Like when a Kryptonian takes so much damage, they just hibernate until they regain their energy. So, yeah. But it just matters, like if he does quote unquote die or hibernate, whichever way you want to put it, how long does it go after that?
That's what I was going to say, is like he's the other half of the main stars of the show. So I don't know how long.
I would say 3 episodes. I'd be happy if it was 3 episodes of him not being there. But it just matters, like, do they not use Tyler Hoechlin for that many episodes?
I think if they did Cyborg Superman, they would just have him as Cyborg Superman. That makes the most sense to me.
And then had a crisis, so they can. Oh god! Well, that's a good thing about Crisis happening. They can just pretend that never happened.
That was awful. That was the worst Cyborg Superman story I've ever seen.
Cyborg Superman.
But I mean, they have everybody else. Eradicator's available. Well, not the same Eradicator, but
but even then, they sort of set that up with Morgan Edge, because when his mother's like, "Why would you do that? Like, I'm disappointed in you." He always like second guesses his decisions from previous season and everything, and even in that moment what he was doing. So it makes you wonder whether he would turn around, especially if Superman or Clark does die.
Right. So, but we have the other elements there. Obviously, we have Man of Steel and we have a Superboy. So there could be the rise of the Superman story. If they wanted to do it, they could do it. I just wonder how much they would invest into it and how far they would go. So Staggervore here with the 49 super chat. Unrelated topic. I just learned that Louis Anderson passed away. I think I saw that earlier today. That happened, and I don't know the circumstances behind it, but he was one of the comedians that I knew growing up, so I saw a lot of his stuff. But we're getting a lot of this week. I think there's like 3 or 4 people that have passed away in the last
apparently Meatloaf died of COVID and he was anti-vax. So
yeah, I saw that too. So there we go. All right, last topic for Superman and Lois, and then our final thoughts is the stuff with Sarah and the whole woke thing and whatnot. So apparently Sarah, I'm only saying that because people in the chat have mentioned it. Sarah kissed a friend at camp. She liked it. Yes, Katy Perry. She kissed.
What if that was the end song for the episode?
Maybe a cover version of it. But she kissed her friend, and she tells Jordan that it was just a kiss, that she doesn't want to like date her or be with her or whatever, but she's been holding all this in. Now, actually, this seemed to me like this is, I guess, less bad than what I thought. Like, I thought she was dating someone else behind his back.
I thought it was going to be more salacious than this, the way she was like, she seemed torn up over something.
Yeah. Like, I'm not forgiving. Like, if you're in a relationship with somebody and you do something like that, you absolutely deserve to, like, whatever comes to you with that, it's whatever. But I thought that she was literally, because we saw her texting and then he walked over to her and she put her phone in the locker, and I'm like, okay, so she's clearly like cheating on him at this point, is what I thought.
Yeah.
And I mean, the other thing people have to understand is this was even different than that, because she was kissing another girl, which added another layer of like, how do I tell him about this? Because not only did I kiss someone else, but it was a girl, and it was at the camp that I was at. And is he going to believe that that's all I did? Is he going to think that I'm trying to like have some, relationship with somebody else or whatever? So there's another level to it here that has been happening. And I think it's very telling, because Sarah, unless she's been added recently, she's not a major comic book character that I can ever remember, which means that her backstory can be basically whatever they want it to be, right? So the fact that they introduced the idea that she may be bisexual shouldn't bother anyone, because they're not changing anything from a character that already existed. But the same group of people that say, I hate it because they changed it from the comics, are hating that Sarah is now possibly bisexual for no reason at all, other than she's a bisexual character.
Sounds about right with the internet.
So I don't get that. I don't understand that. And people are like, oh, she's a lesbian. I'm like, clearly she did not say she was a lesbian. So at the very least, the only thing you can assume is that she is bisexual, or that she's exploring her sexuality in a way or whatever. And you can feel however you want to feel, but I think the people that said that they hate when they do this to characters because it changes who they are from the comics, that are now hating on this, proves that it was never about the comics. It was never about the comics for them. But that's just the way I feel about it. I'm willing to see where this goes because this actually makes the story a lot more interesting to me than what I thought it was. So, what are you going to say, Paigey?
No, I was going to say, I think people are forgetting like one of the crucial parts early on into season 1 with Sarah. Like she was driven to, no lifing herself because of the fear of like becoming what her mum was. Like never left Smallville, never really branched out in her life, and never really, to a degree, discovered who she was and what she wanted to truly be. Like that was a key part in the early part of season 1. And I've always felt that even in season 1, that Sarah and Jordan were a thing because they connected over their mental health problems, which Jordan opens up to her and they open up to it together. And it's sort of like a connection they make straight away, which then leads into their relationship. But now Sarah leaves Smallville, goes to camp for 3 months, is able to discover herself, meet with other people, and she finds another side of her life. Like, if to me, this isn't some weird, they're ruining the character. This is like probably the greater character progression than any character on the show, if you think about it, because she actually left Smallville to do her own thing and she was away from everyone. Like, I don't know, did her little sister go to this camp as well? I'm not too sure.
I don't know.
Maybe they left her sister there.
The little sister got abducted by aliens, I think. Like
the little sister is with Baby Jenna.
Yeah.
I forgot about Baby Jenna.
They're in the daycare, the 24/7 all the time away from Earth daycare.
All right, this is going to be the last super chat, and then we're going to wrap this up because we're coming up on the 2-hour mark, and I have kept these guys. Well, actually, we got 2 super chats, so wait to these 2, and then we're going to wrap this up. Quinlan here with a 4.9 super chat goes, with the crystal being reintroduced, do you think Clark will be able to reestablish his connection with his dad in the fortress? I think if he's going to access his mother's crystal and able to talk to her, they might be able to find a way to restore that. It's quite possible because we know the crystal itself is buried near the house by the tree, so there is a possibility. I don't know if they're going to go back that route. They may just make it so he connects with his mother now, and that's the character that he talks with. Would any of you guys want to see him do something, bring his father back or whatever, or do you think they should just go this direction with his mother? What do you think?
I don't think it really matters too much. I think he did a lot with his father, and he's obviously been with his father since he was 18.
Mm-hmm.
So maybe it's about time, because obviously when Lana took over Lara's consciousness, like that was the first time he actually got to speak to his mother, wasn't it?
Yeah.
So now that was sort of like setting that up for this season.
There's so many women with L names on the show: Lana, Laura,
and then
Lois,
Jays,
Lucy,
and then they got the Jays and everything.
Jordan, Jonathan. Yeah, it's a lot. Naruto here talking about Sarah with $2 super chat. I thought she was pregnant. I mean, I didn't think that. But I mean, I can see why somebody would go in that direction. But yeah, I mean, that would be that would have been quite the story if Sarah would have been pregnant. I can tell you right now, we would have been having a whole different conversation if that would have been the situation with Sarah. So in the chat, let us know what you think. What would you score Superman and Lois this week on a scale of 1 to 10? I enjoyed this episode. I don't know which one I liked better, 1 or 2. Do you guys have a preference on which one you liked better or no?
I think I probably like 2 more, just because 1 dealt with so much of the season 1 fallout.
Mm-hmm.
So this one seemed to push things forward a lot, but I have a feeling this upcoming episode might be the best of the opening 3.
Okay. And then we get 1 more before a break. So excited about that break. Danielle Panabaker is pregnant again. Oh, I didn't know that.
Yep.
Oh.
You don't know anything.
I don't know anything. I took too much of a break from the internet. I've been dealing with getting ready for this storm for the last 3 days.
Yeah, Eric's been shoveling his sidewalk for 3 days.
No, I've been trying to find things. Like, people panic buy like crazy when this happens. You can't get anything. It's like I went to the store for some general stuff, and it's all like the most random stuff is sold out here. French fries, like you can't buy.
Part of that is that there is a shortage of like nationwide, not just like because of the storm of supplies. Like,
well, it's a combination for us though.
Like they don't have drivers to drive things, and everything else is backed up. So you add that with an emergency, and it's tenfold.
Yeah. All right, so thanks everybody for joining. I appreciate you being here. DC TV show, aka Harry Potter, aka Pagey,
aka Crumpet Muncher.
Yeah, he's got to go make another clickbait video.
Supergirl return next week on. Actually, my Supergirl will be in every Superman and Lois title for the rest of the season. I don't know how I'll do it, but I'll manage.
And Canada Graphs, who would have been out shooting tonight, but obviously it's too deep in the woods.
I don't want to get killed by a bear.
He's not going in the woods.
Well, no, it's because he doesn't have the light to do the Blair Witch Project reenactment.
Oh,
you have to have that night, the flashlight right up your face. So it's not going to work.
And Lance stepping in this week, back by popular demand. You can check him out. Do you want to drop your socials because you're only here once in a while? So I didn't know if you wanted to tell people where to find you.
Instagram, just type in Lance_Geek Drums. Twitter, just type in Drummer Fanatic. And if you haven't done it yet, go download Gig Me Pro. Just grab that.
Oh, yeah, I forgot about that.
Yeah, no, I didn't actually download it, but I haven't created an account. I need to do that as soon as we're done here. So
grab
Gig Me Pro. It is Black owned, and it is it's a social network, right? Isn't that what it is? Okay. So go check it out. Gig Me Pro, show some support. And we will see everyone next time. Thank you so much for being here, and we are out. I'm gonna go deal with the snow.